This Mwako and Company?
Yes.
Where's Mwako?
Is there anything I can help you with?
Yes, we just asked for Mr. Mwako.
Mr. Mwako doesn't see people not unless it's appointment-based.
So you mean to say that we cannot see Mr. Mwako?
Why? He doesn't want to mingle with the common Wananchi? He thinks because he owns a law firm, the rest of us are nothing?
He has got some attitude.
I told you, we should have gone to Njae Senior and Company advocates. You kept insisting on a man who is too arrogant to meet with us.
I'm sorry for the misunderstanding.
There was no misunderstanding.
What I meant to say was...
Oh, really? What did you mean to say?
I did not say that you cannot...
No need. I cannot work with a man who has his nose up in the air. We'll take our case someone else who appreciates clients and means business.
Wait.
What?
Can I interest you in an advocate that does not have his nose up in the air?
In this firm?
Maybe. But he's much better than Mr. Mwako and way cheaper.
I told you so. The cheap ones are always the best.
Just give me a minute. Hey, I have Margaret and Isaac Kilu. Yeah, sure. Okay. Mr. Mwako.
Mr. Mwako? You are Mwako?
Yes. Did you want to see me?
Yes, we did.
I'm sorry, I'm not aware of this meeting. It's my son's graduation, and I had put my schedule for...
You are told you cannot meet us without an appointment.
I have excellent legal staff who can take care of your every legal need. In fact, one of them just walked in. You are...
Isaac Kilu. And this is my wife, Margaret.
And Cyrus Kileta.
And another one just walked in too. Well, you can see you are in good hands, and Cyrus will sort you out, and I will check in on him, and you perhaps tomorrow. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to dash.
Please, if you may, follow me to the boardroom.
What just happened?
I have no idea. This was supposed to be our deal, but then Mwako walked in and I don't know. I don't know.
Just be sure next time.
So, what brings you to us?
Our son.
Your son?
Our son was taken by child's welfare.
Child welfare?
We are charged with child abuse. Apparently, we abused our one and only son. It's ridiculous. The government has taken our son from us and now wants to jail us for being good parents.
Spare the rod and spoil the child.
Isn't that how we were brought up?
So, the child abuse charges are not entirely false?
Sorry to keep you, Cyrus.
No problem.
Cyrus, right?
Yeah, it's Cyrus. In fact, I appreciate you meeting me this early.
Just doing my job.
Yeah. The Isaac and Margaret Kilu case.
Actually, I'm surprised you requested to see me. To me, it's an open and shut case.
I know. But my problem is I requested to see the boy, but for some reasons, the social services wouldn't let me to.
Yes, the boy is under protective custody. The social worker in charge of the boy thinks that the parents are mentally unstable and allowing access to anyone who is in any way related or connected to the parents is risky.
Risky? I'm their lawyer, for heaven's sake.
The boy has made tremendous recovery since he was rescued from his abusive parents. And right now, the child's interests are key in this matter.
That is just an allegation.
This is the most recent report. Yes, I know. Sad, isn't it?
Perhaps the parents don't know the condition of their boy.
Which makes them lesser parents. And they deserve to be behind bars.
We'll still need to see the boy.
I don't think so.
Come on, then how are we going to ascertain what is in this report?
Because it was published by a certified doctor.
A doctor in this prosecution?
A doctor, all the same. Look, I'm pushing for maximum sentence here, for both. This is Sophia Marita, the social worker assigned to the boy. Excuse me.
Okay. Shall we?
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution calls Officer Kiliwa. Officer Kiliwa, you are familiar with Daniel Kilu's case?
Yes, I am.
And you arrested his parents on the 10th of May 2010.
Yes.
You charged them with child abuse the next day.
Yes.
Please tell us what led to the arrest of the 3-year-old boy, David Kilu's parents.
We received a visitor, Sophia Marita, who is a child social worker. She indeed received a call from a concerned neighbor. Ms. Sophia provided a testimonial evidence to support the child abuse case of the little boy.
What evidence?
We had the witness, the neighbor.
Is that sufficient enough? Is that sufficient to charge parents with child abuse? A neighbor's statement?
That and the medical evidence. However, the child needed to be removed from the care of the parents for medical examination. In such cases, arrest goes hand in hand if there is sufficient evidence.
Did you carry out further investigations before the charge?
Of course. We found out that the boy is repeatedly beaten almost every day. He is denied food. He is denied basic care. Indeed, he is mentally disturbed. This is such a sad case.
Liar! I loved my son!
All the documentation, the proof you require, you have.
Liar!
Mr. Kilu, that is not how to behave in my court.
And so we let this man treat us like evil monsters?
You will have your chance to put the record straight. Meanwhile, I will have no tolerance to such outbursts in my court. Got it?
Thank you. Whose recommendation was it that you put the child under protective custody pending the hearing of this case?
Sophia Marita, who is a social worker. The support from our station, and of course this court. The boy has really suffered a lot. Any sound from the parents, he recoils.
What do you mean?
The doctor said it's a mental condition. He just, I can't explain. It's just like something is so terrible.
How sad. Nothing further, Your Honor.
So you assume the child recoils because of his parents?
Because he's okay until he hears them. In fact, he will wail uncontrollably and get hold to the nearest person with intense anger.
Did you really have a chance to talk to the boy, or is all this a reenactment of Sophia Marita's version of what happened to Daniel?
Not really.
Not really. Is that a yes or no?
I had an opportunity to observe him.
So you did not talk to the boy?
He's a 3-year-old boy and so traumatized.
Ah, now you're giving us medical evidence, huh? When you said that the sound of his parents' voice affected him, did you actually testify what you personally observed?
Yes.
On that same day you arrested the parents?
Yes.
So it is possible the boy might have behaved the way he did because he was afraid of the people taking his parents away from him.
No.
No. 3-year-olds generally trust people with guns and taking them away from their homes. An answer, please.
No.
No, they don't. In fact, the little boy was so scared that he could have done or said anything out of fear of the men in blue carrying guns, wouldn't he?
That is not true.
Wouldn't a grown-up man do the same? I know I would.
I don't know.
You don't know? Your presence and the way you roughly arrested his parents was enough to affect the young boy psychologically. Nothing further.
Regina Ragoy, you are the kind neighbor who reported the mistreatment of Daniel to the children's welfare.
Yes.
How long have you and Kilus been neighbors?
About 4 years.
That's basically even before Daniel was born.
Yes.
How well do you know them? Do you know them well?
Not really. They keep to themselves.
When did you notice that Daniel was being abused?
The wailing. The child was wailing a lot. It was not normal. Then I started noticing things.
What things?
Daniel was a happy, cheerful boy. Then suddenly he was withdrawn and he was scared.
And that's when you started getting curious.
I was more concerned than curious. I was worried about what might have changed the boy that much.
Did you suspect that the parents were abusing him?
Not at all. I suspected the maids because they had new maids every 2 to 3 months.
When did you see the parents abuse little Daniel?
When Margaret stopped working, they used to beat the little boy. Strange enough, he wasn't crying that much anymore.
Why?
Objection. How would she know that?
Sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor. What made you report this to the authorities?
One day I saw him by the fence. He had a big burn on his hand. The burn was so fresh I could tell it happened the previous day. So I asked him, "What happened to your hand?"
Did he tell you?
No. He never even looked at me. He stared somewhere at something. It was too much. Enough was enough. I called the child welfare for him. Something in my heart told me that that young boy was suffering. He will die in that house, and I wouldn't let that happen.
You did well.
How often would you crane your neck into the Kilu's home?
I beg your pardon. I am not a nosy neighbor.
Please answer the question.
Well, I never counted, but as long as I had something.
Every other day?
You make me sound as if I don't have anything better to do with my time.
You claim that you noticed Daniel being beaten by his parents.
Yes.
Also, that was every day?
Maybe.
For how long were the alleged beatings going on?
I can't really say.
A year, perhaps?
Maybe even longer.
You allege that you noticed Daniel being beaten by his parents and you never called for help. Is that what you want the court to believe?
I called the child welfare.
After a year? Why more than a year? Why not the 3rd month or the 7th month? Why wait for a whole year?
I mind my own business.
And yet you peeped into your neighbor's compound at will. Is that someone who minds her own business?
Objection!
I am curious why you deemed it fit to call then and not earlier.
Because I thought it was enough.
After a whole year, why?
The child looked sick.
And you assumed it is the alleged beatings that made him look that way?
Yes.
How many times did you witness the alleged beatings by Daniel's parents?
Maybe once a week or less.
Not every day.
He's just a child. He doesn't deserve to be beaten. That amounts to child abuse.
By whose definition? Yours. Are you a parent, Ms. Ragoy?
No.
Thank you.
God, am I the only one who works here? All this for me?
Yep, and you are the only one who works in this office. Maybe it's time you change tactics.
Perhaps. What's the matter?
Nothing. I'm sorry.
For what?
The file that got lost for losing the client, I know it was really important to you.
Don't be, it wasn't your fault.
I know, but I know you worked really hard at it, and you really deserve that break.
Thanks.
I hope the file turns up soon.
It doesn't matter. The client has already been assigned to that fat blob sitting there. Anything else?
No. I'll be at my usual spot if you need anything.
Sophia Marita, you have been a social worker for 10 years.
Correct?
And you are a children's welfare officer.
Yes. I work exclusively with children under the age of 12.
Good. When did the call from Regina Ragoy come through?
That was May 9th, 2010.
And on 10th, you removed little Daniel from the custody of his parents.
If I had my way, I would have taken him the same day. We take child abuse very seriously.
Why?
A few hours or even a few minutes could mean a child's life. A lot of child abuse cases don't end well.
When did you ascertain that, rather, how did you ascertain that Daniel was being abused by his parents?
He had bruises all over his body. He had burns, 2 burns. One on his hand, it was very visible, and the other one on his back, which indicated torture. Well, and the mental state. We took Daniel to one of our doctors who confirmed that he had been abused.
The doctor confirmed that Daniel was being abused physically.
And mentally.
How sad.
The effects are more profound in children simply because they have not yet developed the coping mechanism. Yeah.
These children, don't they often bounce back?
With a lot of counseling and loving care. But the doctor also diagnosed him with autism.
And he needs special attention due to his autism too.
Yes, he does.
Is there any improvement so far?
A little. He started communicating this week. It's been a phenomenal breakthrough.
Thank you. And thank you for the good job.
The child Daniel was diagnosed with autism.
I already said that.
Were his parents aware?
I wouldn't know.
Yes or no?
I don't know.
Is autism a common condition?
Well, it is very rare, especially in African countries.
How many children with autism have you dealt with before?
This was my first.
In your 10 years as a welfare officer?
Yes.
Do you know how they behave, how to deal with them, or even how to take care of them?
No.
Autism is a mental condition. Is it possible that Daniel hurt himself and actually the burns and bruises were self-inflicted?
No. Daniel's parents abused him. It is possible that the abuse is the one that caused autism.
Why does an autistic require more and special attention?
I wouldn't know. I'm not an expert.
Fair enough. So it's possible that Daniel hurt himself while his parents were not watching.
He had burn marks on the back and on his hand. How can a child have burn marks on the back unless someone put them there?
Nothing further.
Dr. Mkoa, you are Daniel's primary physician.
Yes, I am.
How is he?
He's shown tremendous improvement the last couple of weeks.
Good. Tell us more about autism.
Autism is a general term used to describe a group of complex developmental brain disorders known as pervasive developmental disorders. It's an abnormal absorption of oneself, marked by communication disorders.
Yeah, I'm sure there is more, Doctor, but tell us, did Daniel exhibit any of the symptoms you mentioned?
Of course, yes. Daniel exhibited, in fact, most of them. You see, Daniel's case was more severe because he had not been diagnosed earlier.
Is it therefore possible, Doctor, to say that Daniel developed this condition due to the frequent beatings and ill treatment he received from his parents?
Objection! That is judgmental. The abuse is yet to be proved.
I'll rephrase. Could physically or verbally abusing a child during the development process lead to it?
It's a possibility.
Do you know exactly when Daniel developed the disorder?
I wouldn't know.
Apart from the diagnosis of autism, Doctor, can you affirm to this court that Daniel was indeed abused?
Of course, yes. You see, Daniel had some wounds on the back, on the buttock, elbows. I mean, some were even burns.
And in your opinion, were these wounds self-inflicted?
No.
Nothing further.
Are frequent severe crying and tantrums for no apparent reason symptoms of autism?
Yes.
One of the symptoms of autism is lack of sensitivity to pain, cold, and even heat. Is that true?
That's true.
So, if a child with that condition throws himself on a sharp or a blunt object or on the floor or even say the stairs, wouldn't the child have bruises and burns on peculiar places?
It's possible.
So you're saying that it is possible that Daniel got the bruises and burns during the tantrums and not necessarily during the alleged beatings?
It is possible, but you see, Daniel has never shown those crying tantrum symptoms.
There is no exact science in knowing which symptom will manifest itself and when. Is that true?
That's correct.
So it's possible that Daniel threw tantrums and hurt himself while with his parents and was docile while he was with you.
That's also right.
Nothing further. Thank you.
You may step down. Call in your witness.
The defense calls Margaret Kilo. Margaret Kilo.
Yes.
How does it feel discovering that your son has autism, this in a courtroom while you're being tried for his alleged abuse?
For one, I am glad that I know. I have always found my son different from any other normal child. I didn't know what was wrong with him, but now I know.
Did he exhibit signs like the doctor mentioned earlier?
And others.
And didn't you feel the importance of talking to a doctor about it?
I have always thought that I had a strange son. I even quit job just to take care of him. Nobody wanted to be with him.
Why? What will he do?
He would throw himself down the stairs. Sometimes he would cry the whole day and the whole night over nothing. He would ignore me, his father, and sometimes completely refuse to listen to anything that we say to him. Sometimes he would hit his head on the wall repeatedly over and over again. He would do this until he bleeds, not unless you stop him. Sometimes he would scream at us. We really didn't understand what was going on with him.
So you thought you had a naughty boy?
Yes, and I would discipline him. A naughty boy should be disciplined, right?
Yeah, but did you hurt him?
No, just some little smack to show him that what he was doing was wrong.
And how did he respond?
He got worse. Every passing day, he got worse. That is sad. I never knew that he was autistic. I swear I never knew that he was autistic.
But you knew there was obviously something wrong with him, didn't you?
How would I have known that he was autistic when I have never known of that kind of a disease before? How would I have known? How?
Nothing further.
Because you didn't know of your son's condition, you resorted to disciplining him.
I didn't know that he was sick. I swear.
Autism is not a sickness. It's a condition, a disorder.
I didn't know.
But you knew. You knew he was different from the other people. You said it. Yet you never bothered to consult a doctor about his problem.
I assumed that I had an indisciplined naughty boy. I thought I was cursed with a bad son.
So you decided to abuse him physically with an excuse that he was naughty. Nothing further.
You too, Mr. Kairu, were unaware of your son's condition.
I didn't even know such a thing existed.
Would you have treated him differently if you knew?
Yes, of course. He deserves special treatment. 3 years with him and we never knew, never suspected he was sick.
It's a condition.
Whatever it is, my son is not normal. If I'd known better, I would have treated him differently.
And now that you know?
I'll take better care of him.
Thank you. Nothing further.
You don't sound remorseful for your beatings and improper care you gave your son.
As I've already testified, I didn't know my son had a mental problem.
Okay. Okay. But you disciplined him every time he was on the wrong?
Yes.
A 3-year-old on the wrong, and you expect this court to believe that?
That is what was happening.
He is 3 years old. What wrongs can justify disciplining a 3-year-old child?
Unnecessary screaming, tantrums.
We've had that. That should have alerted you that there's something wrong with him for you to take necessary action. Instead, you turned him into a punching bag.
He was an undisciplined child. I did what I had to do as a parent.
So you beat him. You beat the poor child up. You beat him senseless. What good parent would beat a child mercilessly as you did? What excuse will they have? You physically abused your son, pure and simple.
I was disciplining him.
What about his autism?
It's a white man disease. It does not exist in the minds of the African children.
Isaac!
How come we've never heard of this until now, huh? How come?
Isaac, please!
What? These people won't tell us how to raise our child. They even claim he has a disease I've never known until today. My child is spoiled. He's naughty. My wife had to quit her job because no maid agreed to take care of him. They all quit after 1 or 2 months. And now you're telling me he's sick with a wise man disease?
Autism is not...
Then how come it never existed during our time? During the time I was growing up, no one had this disease.
Isaac Kilu, I urge you to weigh the words coming out of your mouth carefully.
Weigh them? Using what skills? What skills?
Restrain yourself, Isaac Kilu.
A child is spoiled and naughty. The boy hurts himself and does not have his way. And the doctor say he's autist, whatever.
Isaac Kilu.
What is our country turning into? The children are spoiled rotten. When one parent does it right, he's arrested and charged with child abuse. This is nonsense.
Right, enough.
Simply stating it as it is.
I have not seen my son for months now, Your Honor.
The child is under the state custody for the time being, Mrs. Kilu.
And when will I see my son?
Not anytime soon.
But I need to see my son.
You should have thought of the consequences. You may step down. This has been a very sad case, to say the least. It is evident that the parents were not even aware of their son being autistic. However, that's besides the point. Listening to the arrogant bellowing of Daniel Kilu's father, it is clear that the boy was abused. Naughtiness or not, a child cannot be beaten every single time he makes a mistake. More importantly, Daniel's behavior cannot be considered naughty. Your lack of perception on the part of your son's behavior is appalling. You failed to notice his development go off the curve. Frankly, I find it very difficult to understand how any parent can miss that. You failed as parents. And to cover up your failure, you physically abused poor Daniel and dubbed the boy naughty. The defendants, please stand. Isaac Kilu versus the state on the charge of child abuse, I find you guilty. Margaret Kilu, I also find you guilty as charged. Isaac Kilu, due to lack of remorse on your part, I hereby sentence you to 10 years imprisonment. As for you, Margaret Kilu, seeing a sense of remorse in you, I hand you a sentence of 6 years imprisonment.
What?
Court's adjourned.
How about my son? When will I see my son? Who will take care of my son?
The state has been in touch with your sister in Nakuru. She has agreed to take care of Daniel pending your parental hearing, which will be determined after your sentence.
But I didn't know.
Now you know. Court's adjourned.